movement community, or as I prefer to say, the restoration congregations, we may not be where we want to be. We may not even be where we need to be, but we are somewhere. We have gained some ground, and we could not have gotten here without the help of others. This Barry Phillips, a 10-minute Torah, day 3 of Matot, Masei, Tribes and Journeys. Let's go to Numbers or Bamidbar, chapter 31, and look at verses 1 through 5. Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Take vengeance for the children of Israel on the Midianites, and after that you are to be gathered to your people. And Moshe spoke to the people, saying, Arm some of yourselves for the campaign, and let them go out against the Midianites to take vengeance for Yahweh on Midian. Send 1,000 from each tribe of all the tribes of Israel for the campaign. So there were supplied from the tribes of Israel 1,000 from each tribe, 12,000 armed ones for the campaign. Moshe is initially told, take vengeance, or avenge the vengeance. It might be a more literal way of saying it, of Bnei Israel. Yet it says in verse 3 that we are to take vengeance for Yahweh. The root word here is nakom, a nun, a kuf, and a mem. The paleo word or letter meanings here suggest the heir's time of might. Okay. The form that is used is nokamat, which adds a tav at the end. So it might be letter-wise, heir's time of might for the covenant. Not a doctrine, nothing here but a suggestive understanding of how the letters would spell out the meaning of the word. And so it does give us an understanding here that to avenge is to exercise the heir, Yeshua, his time of might, demonstrating the purposes of the covenant. And so Yah is instructing Moshe, it's time, and we're going to get some vengeance here. We're going to give some payback, and some people are going to pay. Here in America, there is a political divide, and there's this large group that is wanting to see, figuratively, some heads roll, some accountability, some people put in jail for all the stuff that they did. And so in that regard, if you are an American and if you are a part of that particular persuasion of politics, you might understand a little bit of what it feels like to be a man of Israel, or even a woman of Israel at this point, and wanting somebody to pay for the last episode where so many men died and they were tricked and deceived. And yes, it was their own fault, but still, it leaves a sour taste in the mouth. But what we read right by here is that Moshe is told, after you do this, you're going to be gathered to your people. Moshe doesn't hesitate. Moshe doesn't say, well, we need to kind of do some exercises to figure out who are the fittest men to go, and we're going to do some trial runs, and let me consult with my generals for a while and lay out a battle plan. He just simply gives the command, let's select 12,000 men, 1,000 from each tribe, to represent us, to go over and get this job done. Let's take care of this. He's not even reluctant because he has spent 40 years with the Midianites, and maybe he knows a lot of these people. But his allegiance is not to Midian. It's to Yahweh and to the covenant people of Yahweh. And so he doesn't hesitate. Now, where I want to really focus here, after those two little nuggets, if you will, is that Yah said to send some. So he calls for men to be prepared for the army. The word used here is halkatsu. If you want to write it down, it's a chet, a lamet, and a sadi. And it's used for the idea of be prepared. Its expanded meaning here is to draw or pull out or to remove. Kind of like the idea of taking a shoe off. You're pulling your foot out of the shoe. So there is this act of preparation by pulling out a select group of individuals. And these 12 tribes, represented by 12,000, are actually going onto the battlefield. It's not 12,000 from one tribe. All of Israel is represented by the group that is going in their behalf. And as the 12,000 go, the agenda, the heart, the purpose, the desire of all of Israel is being carried out. But there was a group that was sent out ahead. And herein we go back then to the opening remark. As a community, there are some who say, well, we don't like the idea of a movement. Well, movement, community, body of belief, however you want to phrase or encapsulate the idea of who we are. As people that have returned back to the Torah and are seeing our place in the long-term plans of Yah for Israel, and wanting to foster reconciliation and restoration of all things, and being a part of that heart of Yeshua, we couldn't get here if it hadn't been for some men and women who caught this vision decades ago. And they began to search the scriptures, they began to pray, they began to ask the questions that many of us have asked, and they found the answers, and they began to share their insights with others, and this thing began to catch some momentum. Yes, I'm sure that there were those that joined in because it was the latest, greatest fad. And there are those that participated because, well, they were just mad because, something somewhere else. There's a lot of negative reasons why people have adhered to whatever and whoever we are. But let's not forget those that were decisive and prayed and paid a price and were ridiculed, and they suffered the loss of relationships. Some of them took great financial hurt. So people like Batya Wooten, who, may her memory be a blessing, has left us not so long ago, and her husband Angus. And those that are maybe even still among us that are currently teaching and sharing, you may not agree with them. You may say, I have my issues. Well, we all have issues with something. And most likely we all have issues with someone. But let's be honest. Let's recognize we couldn't be here if other people hadn't paid a price and paved a path, is what I meant to say. So may Yah honor them. And to be honest, it goes back even further than modern history. It goes back to men and women that prayed in their homes for revival. Grandmas and grandpas that got on their face because they saw degenerate generations rising up and things were taking a societal turn for the worse. Men and women who during times of national stress and distress, wartime, times of economic depressions, times of violence even on our own soil, they cried out. I guarantee you there are prayers that are hundreds of years old that Yah is still hearing and still answering because the people who uttered them believe there is something more. And we can't see it, can't identify it, can't describe it, but we know that there's something more. And whatever that is, we're crying out, oh Yah, send forth your hand and show mercy and deliver your people and bring us back to you so that we might serve you the way you want us to. Those prayers shape us. They clear road blockages for us. They are paving our path. And today, for them, I am thankful. And I hope to see you again tomorrow. To then, shalom.